Okay, I thought I would do another little video. Since I'm repairing everything on this old Dodge Travco, this is the 1965 12-volt clock that was up in the top. G.O.W. Borg Warner, American made, 1965. It wasn't working, and I tore it apart and blew it out a little bit, sprayed a little bit of WD-40, and then blew all of that I could off of it. I don't know if you can see it. It's actually running right now. I've got it hooked to a 12-volt power supply, but there's a little set of points. They're getting ready to hit. Boom, there it went. And there's a little coil, and every time, about every minute, that set of points hits, and it winds a little spring up. It pulls a spring over this little wheel. It's an actual clock mechanism. It's not an electric clock per se. It uses electric to pull that spring, which is similar to winding a clock, or winding up an old watch. And every minute it comes around. I'm going to keep filming here. You can see the little contact will start closing the gap. And then when it hits, it energizes the coil, pulls a little magnet piece, pulls that cam around, stretches the spring. You can see the points are closing in. I'm trying to keep my hands from shaking. And here she comes. She's coming around. And once that contacts, gives it another little wind almost. It stretches the spring. Just barely touch. Boom, there it goes again. So anyway, what had happened to this one, had some dust in it. Like I said, I gave it a super light coat of WD-40, blew most of it out of there, and took some sandpaper to those points. And then this little stem here that you would adjust the clock with, the little gear, there's a spring and a gear, and the gear had popped off. And it was all down inside, so I put it back together, and I had to deform the end of the shaft that little brass gear is on so it wouldn't come off again. It kept popping off. It wasn't very tight. So I had two things wrong with it. A little dusty, the points were fuzzed up, and that gear had come off. But it's keeping perfect time. I've had it plugged in all day. So I'm going to put it back together. It had these little metal tabs you had to straighten out to pull it apart, and I cleaned the glass. And you have to hold this shaft with a pair of pliers and take this little knob off of here to get it apart. But it's pretty cut and dried, and it's a nice little clock. It had a red light, and it looks really cool at night. I would turn all the lights out in the shop, had that in. It's really a neat little clock. So if you got one that's not working, it'd be worth trying to take it apart and see if you could figure it out. I just interrupted my power supply there. But anyway, just thought I'd show it to you. Okay.